Good evening, folks. We are once again live. Let me go ahead and get everything switched over and we will get started with today's drawing stream. Alright, should have video. We're once again playing stuff from the playlist. Now, people might be wondering, because I think I've done this for a couple streams in a row, just based on what I've been streaming. But some people might wonder why I typically default to using the BGM playlist that I made. Or specifically, the BGM playlist based on tracks I've made. And the short answer is, when I first started streaming and I wanted to be able to put music in the background for my streams, I ran into a lot of issues with copyright claims and stuff on YouTube when I upload the archives. The VODs tend to not really be an issue here on Twitch, but for the archives that go up on YouTube, even some that were royalty free in certain instances for streaming in one platform, were getting flagged on other platforms, and that bugged me enough that I decided to learn how to make my own music, which was part of the reason why I started doing the loop station and beatbox stuff. And so it's mostly a way for me to know for sure that I'm using something that's not going to get me flagged on any platform. And as we add more projects to the BGM collection, then obviously we'll hear that on stream every once in a while. So in case anyone was wondering why we use this playlist so often, that's the main reason. ADC Iconic is here. What's up, Iconic? How are you doing today? Hope you're having a good Wednesday. Yeah, I also want to apologize for my schedule being so erratic lately. I think this is the second time I've had to change my schedule for streaming midweek. Things are still kind of chaotic at work. And if I get stuck working late, it basically means I have no time to get set up for the stream. So I try and plan around when I know it's not going to be too bad, but sometimes I get stuck, and then that's why I have to either move the streams or switch them to a different day. Iconic says, what we drawing? I will explain what we're going to be working on today in a minute. I'm just making sure everything's set up here. Today, I kind of switched my idea last minute for what I wanted to do. Since we did the Infinite Fusion Sprites last time, I wanted to start off with something different, and then depending on how much we get done, maybe we'll switch to working on some of those. I will say that the one I spent the most time on last time for the stream was the Kecleon Gengar fusion. That one is currently going through review with the Infinite Fusion Discord. And I've had to do a lot of tweaking, but ultimately I think that one will probably be approved within the week. I got to work on some things tonight, but I've been getting good feedback from the other artists there. So that one is a bit more ambitious, but that one will be done soon. And so next time we work on Infinite Fusion Sprites, I downloaded the assets for the one that Iconic suggested last time, so that's probably going to be the first one I work on, maybe on stream. But we shall see. So anyway, what are we doing today? So today's a bit of a work stream. I need some assets for an upcoming project that I might be able to give you folks some information on tonight. It'll depend if I have time. It's either going to be tonight or tomorrow. Upcoming music project teaser is going to be going live, and I need some assets for that. So I'm going to be making my own. And so what kind of assets are we going to be making for said project? So I need some mecha designs. We need 10 of them. there 10 tracks? I should go double check that. Yes, okay. 10 tracks, just like we did for Blood Moon Rites for Halloween, where we had art for each track. I'm going to be doing the art again for this one, and I figured it'd be an interesting switch up to the format to do some sprite-based art. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adapting some references into things we can use for the tracks. So you folks are going to get to see a glimpse of the references here. They're basically, the challenge is, I'll just show you. So we're gonna do one here, and I'm going to see how long this takes since I haven't tried this on stream before. But we need to take a design and then create kind of a more action-based pose out of the design. So here's the first one. I can't remember if I showed you folks these before, but we're going to need to take this neutral pose and make it a bit more action-oriented. And I think I'm going to switch the angle since I'm going to have this thing facing left. I'll make it a little bit easier. So you probably see me, especially when I set up a primary, flipping this thing on and off, since it's going to take up a lot of the screen. But we need to lay down kind of a basic line art primary. I want to kind of go for like a side profile. And of course, I'll put it on the same layer by accident. I'm going to try to do that as much this time around. All right, stay working on this line layer. So what I'm going to do is take this, and we'll start simple. I don't go too crazy with it out the gates, but I'm going to try and create a side render of this thing maybe flying through the air, but facing this direction sideways instead of 3/4 in the neutral pose. And so just like we've done on non-sprite related projects, I'm going to be kind of roughing in the details. It's going to be very kind of blocky and choppy with the line art. Then I'm going to go in and clean it up. And then we'll go into color assignment and then shading in that order. So pretty much the same process we've done for the non-sprite based drawings. Just we're doing it in pixel format, which is going to be interesting. I'm thinking having the legs kind of staggered, like this thing's flying through the air. Or maybe jumping backwards, but facing, again, facing to the left. I'm trying to keep the perspective mostly sideways. In fact, with the way the accent lines and kind of texturing those, just need to be consistent. Nope, no, that's not what we want. Another thing I guess I can talk about, I don't want to just be dead silent while I'm doing this. The line work on these sprites tends to be a little tedious because I have to rough everything in, and then when I go in to clean up the lines so that they're single pixel long, it's pretty much going to be me deleting individual pixels for a long time. Not the sexiest thing to watch on stream. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the other schedule change I made this week, which is not reflected on the schedule. And I was debating whether or not to just post an updated one or just mention it when it goes live or when it happens tomorrow. So originally we were supposed to play Dyson Sphere program again tomorrow. That would be updates to the ongoing city factory that we've been building on stream. I did some research into the update that comes out, I believe, Friday. It's the 15th. Yeah, that's Friday. And I found out, this was just a couple days ago, in fact, I found out that when the new update, which adds the PvE element, the hostile alien forces that are going to attack while you're building, in order for you to see that content, you have to start a new game. So you can't load up an existing file and have all that loaded in. Probably because it scales from the start of the game. So the file that we started essentially is still playable, but we can't enable the new content. So rather than spend more time on that file, which is a little annoying because we did it for a couple streams and it's a good amount of time, what I'm going to do is start a new file after Friday. Probably this weekend, 5 time. And I'm going to go through all the early games since I won't be narrating it on stream. I can do it much faster. And then I will get us roughly to the same spot in the tech tree that we left off on, so that next week we can jump right in and then see how things have changed. The base is going to look different and everything. Won't be the same map, but we'll be in more or less the same spot. And then we'll be able to go from there. And so as a result, that's why we're not streaming Dyson Sphere program tomorrow. But it should be more interesting when we pick back up next week. In its place, and I've been thinking about this all day, trying to decide what would make the most sense. I decided that instead of Dyson Sphere program tomorrow in our Thursday slot, I am going to do Monster Hunter. And one of the reasons for that was with the recent really exciting news of the new game coming out. We officially have a timeline to do everything that we want to do in Monster Hunter Rise. So to that end, we'll be picking up with our file tomorrow and doing some more endgame grinding. I need to get some more practice with the shotgun build that I made 1 or 2 streams ago. I think it might have been the last stream where we tested out a new build. So we'll be doing some more grinding in Monster Hunter, talking about what was shown off at the Game Awards for the new upcoming title, and overall just sort of counting down the time left with Monster Hunter Rise. We still have a good amount of time. It's 2025 when the new game is supposed to come out. So it's not like it's imminent. But that means at some point we're going to have to move on from Monster Hunter Rise into the 6th generation of Monster Hunter titles, which would be Monster Hunter Wilds, the one that was announced, which is very big news. There hasn't been a new generation of Monster Hunter titles since World. Both World and Rise were part of the 5th generation of games. So with the announcement of Wilds coming out in 25, that is officially the start of the next main console generation of games. And from what they said, it's going to be a global release on all current gen platforms minus the Switch. So PC, PlayStation, Xbox are going to be getting Wilds. We'll see if they end up doing some sort of port for the Switch. Just depends on probably how powerful or intensive the game is going to be. My guess is going to be probably not, since the Switch didn't get World. That's why they got Rise. But still, pretty exciting news. The fact that a Monster Hunter announcement closed out the Game Awards is also a pretty big deal. I know some people have been talking a bit about that. Having the closing bit that people saw be dedicated to a Monster Hunter game is wild. When you think of kind of how niche that series has been up until probably, I would say World is when it really broke through to the mainstream. The series has been around since the early 2000s. It's been around since the PS2 days. But as long as I've been playing Monster Hunter, and it's been a while since PSP days, it was always a pretty niche title. There weren't a lot of people I knew that played it. And then now with the titles like World, Iceborne, Rise, Sunbreak, the overall larger scale appeal of the series has gotten much more so, which is great. I know some of the more gatekeeping members of the community, just like any sort of community, think that the games are getting too much exposure and becoming casual and all this other silliness. But I think if you want your franchise to be successful, you have to appeal to as many people as possible so they play their game. And I, for one, don't think Monster Hunter as a series has gotten too casual. I wouldn't say any of the games that have come out have been too easy or too simplified or anything like that. It's still Monster Hunter. Things are still going to clean your clock if you're not careful. But you can be sure that I will be covering Wilds here on the channel when it comes out, as long as I'm just, for some reason, not streaming anymore. Like, I was looking at my yearly wrap up for Twitch, and I think Monster Hunter Rise was one of my most streamed games in 2023, which makes sense because it's one I've been streaming the most since everything came out on PC. Alright, let's take a look at what we've got so far. We're going to have to do quite a bit of cleanup, which is why it's very possible that a lot of these are going to take a decent amount of time. So this first one will be a bit of a trial. Fortunately, once I have the line art done, I can just copy all the colors over. I'll do quick fills for everything. That'll be fast. And the shading might take a little while. But because I'm going off of a reference over here, it won't be that bad. But the actual line preparation is what's going to take the longest. But going back to the Game Awards, since I think the Game Awards happened last time I was streaming. I think they were going on when I was streaming. What I ended up doing, we rated Ramen stream after we finished up what we were doing. That was Thursday? I think that was Thursday. And so I watched the whole thing with him and Kat and their other friend, JP, I think it was. They were watching the broadcast since the show itself had already wrapped up. So I just stayed on there and watched the whole thing with them. And there were some interesting reveals. I think the fact that we got a Monster Hunter announcement was the biggest news for me, personally. But it was interesting to see Baldur's Gate win a ton of awards. That didn't particularly surprise me. That's another one that's on my list of eventual things to play. Might be a while, and I probably am not going to do that on stream. That'll be an offline game. But everybody I know that's played Baldur's Gate 3 has really liked it. So it's cool to see them win a bunch of awards. Alan Wake 2 won a lot of awards as well, which is not a series I've closely followed. I remember when the first one came out, but I didn't play it. But I know it was pretty popular, and a lot of people were excited about the new one. So the fact that it won a bunch of awards and the good reception it's gotten means it must be a good experience. Yeah, another thing that happened in the Game Awards that I can't remember if I mentioned it on stream, like when it happened. Maybe I had a message or something, but Armored Core 6 winning Best Action Game of the Year is also very big. Kind of in the same way Monster Hunter Wilds announcement closed out the Game Awards, and that being kind of a historic thing for the series. The idea that a FromSoft Armored Core game could win anything at the awards is absolutely groundbreaking history for From Software. If you told me a decade ago, or maybe a decade plus, when I played 4th generation Armored Core for Answer, if you told me then that one day an Armored Core game would win on a big stage award show like the Game Awards, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have said you're crazy. It's even more of a niche series than Monster Hunter by a huge margin. But the idea that in the time since the last one, the series can go from being a niche, off the radar type of series to winning such a prestigious award is massive. And I think that's really great for From. And it was up against some pretty big contenders as well, so to beat them all out, I think is crazy. I definitely think that means we'll be getting more stuff from Armored Core. They always, historically for the series, have done a new generational release and then like an expansion or follow-up in that generation to the game. So it's usually like an expansion of the story or additional content as a standalone title. So for 4th generation, for example, you had Armored Core 4. Then you had Armored Core 4 Answer, which is the one we played on stream. 5th generation had Armored Core 5. Then Armored Core Verdict Day. So they've always followed the formula of generational title and then a follow-up expansion title after that. So might not be soon. I think the main thing From is working on right now is the Elden Ring DLC. But once that's done, maybe with the announcement of another game for a couple years in the future, I think once Elden Ring DLC comes out, we'll get an announcement for some sort of additional Armored Core content, which is great. I'm still not really done with the game. I just am playing other things at the moment. I've gotten 2 of the 3 endings, 3 run-throughs, and still have 1 more to get. There was that other mecha combat type game. I forget the name of it, but it was shown off at the Game Awards. It was kind of more of like a high-speed anime mech game, and I think it's the one that I've been keeping an eye on. But I will most likely be looking at that when it comes out. Looks cool. The name escapes me right now, but it was like not Mecha Battle, something a little less generic than that, but it looked neat. I can't remember if that was the one that someone showed me a while back that was kind of in the vein of like a multiplayer, fast-paced mech combat game, but it was an IP I'd never heard of, so I think it's new. I just don't remember if it was the one they showed off at the Game Awards. But the idea that the mecha genre can be kind of taken off again because of the success of Armored Core is also exciting. Maybe we'll see a new Virtual On. That's a Sega property, I think. Virtual On was fun. It was kind of like a 3D mech fighting game. Alright, let's kind of zoom in here. Almost done with the upper body of this thing here. Got to figure out what I'm going to do with the other arm we can't see. I might leave it off. Just have it hidden. But we'll see. We'll get the entire pose completely roughed out, and then we'll see if we need to add. But I'd be interested to hear for anyone else who watched the Game Awards, if anything caught your eyes as far as stuff that was shown off, things that are coming up, or things that have already been announced that were shown off in greater detail at the Game Awards. I've kind of gone through the stuff that really jumped out for me because, again, getting a new Monster Hunter announcement eclipsed everything else that I thought was cool there, but they did cover a decent amount. I don't think we got any fighting game news. Oh, we got the Guilty Gear announcement, I think, though. The new character, Elfelt. That was at the Game Awards. Which, I remember that character from Xrd. Iconic says, was excited to see more BT4 sparking Zero footage. I thought about you when that came up. The Dragon Ball. It was Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I said, when that came up, I said, Iconic is probably screaming somewhere. I figured you would have been happy with that announcement. Oh, Street Fighter 6 won Best Fighting Game. I think that's what they won. I was trying to remember what it was. I'm pretty sure it was Best Fighting Game, which is pretty cool. That would have been my pick for Fighting Game of the Year. Conic says, honestly thought we wouldn't see more of it till next year. Well, obviously they've been cooking on that one for a while. I'm wondering if we're going to ever see more characters for fighters. That's not a game I actively followed. I kind of missed the boat on that one just because I didn't have a means to play it when it was out. And I think trying to get into it now would just be an uphill battle. But makes me wonder if they're still adding characters or if they're done with that one. The comic says, I hope considering Xenoverse 2 has like 15 DLCs. Yeah, I haven't really kept up with the whole universe of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball adjacent games. I used to. I think the last one I played was the second Budokai. It was a PS2 game, right? I think it's the last one I played a long time ago. But it's still popular. Actually, no, I did play one after Budokai. It was one of the Xenoverses. I think the first Xenoverse is the one I played, which was 360? Is that a 360 game? I honestly don't remember. It's been forever, but I played one of those. That was the one where you have like the time traveling OC character, I think. Whichever one that was, that's the last of those games I played. Oh, I did see. I'm trying to think back to the Game Awards and stuff that I saw. It seems like it was such a long time ago, but it was quite literally last week. There was a new Atlas property that was announced. It has a weird name. I think it was like Metaphor something. But very much with like the SMT character design and SMT / Persona Atlas design, but it looked like something new. And I didn't have a new Atlas title on my bingo card, so that was interesting to see. Iconic says, Xenoverse 1 and 2 are a 360 generation, but Xenoverse 2 refuses to die, and we're making the jump to next gen. As like a new title or as like a port? I suppose if it's still profitable, they're going to keep making them. Ah, a semi-definitive edition port. So like a remastered version of the game, maybe with some extra content or some bonus stuff thrown in so that they can have people buy it again. You know, whatever they want to do. Toriyama needs to buy a new lair on his house or a new yacht or something. That man has to make just a mint in royalties for all the stuff that he's ever had his hands on. Iconic says Toriyama got the new show happening as well, so he's getting money. Yep. Yeah, I think you're the one who told me about the new show. The man stays busy, that's for sure. Between all the properties that he's either done characters for or has been a part of, you know, I think he's set forever. I keep forgetting that Dragon Quest, he's part of Dragon Quest, right? He's the character designer. And those Dragon Quest games are massive. Every time one of those comes out, they sell a bazillion copies in Japan. And on topic, Dragon Quest Monsters, which I'm currently playing on the Switch, character designs by Toriyama. So, I'm helping fund his new yacht. I haven't really been too keen on the Dragon Quest series, just haven't played the games, but Dragon Quest Monsters was one that I had on my radar as soon as I heard they're releasing one for the Switch. And I like it. It is very true to the old format, and it's really cool. It just suffers from some performance issues on the Switch, which I blame the Switch's older architecture for. The game's fine, but it definitely doesn't perform as well as it could. But that's not going to hinder my ability to play the game. It's just a shame because if it ran better, it would have gotten more people into the series. Oh, that Sandland game. That one I think I heard a little bit about. But yeah, man's getting the bag. Hey, Lava King's here. What's up, Lava King? Welcome to the stream. We are drawing mecha-based sprites, so you might dig that. I was telling Iconic earlier at the start of the stream, I am working on some assets for upcoming project. And so we are drawing some sprite-based mechas. I'll show you what I'm doing. We're doing the finishing line art for this one right now. But our reference is over here. So we're trying to do a more action-oriented pose of this boy right here. And I've been working on the line art for like the last 40 minutes or so, and I'm almost done, so now I can start coloring this thing. Which the issue of the other arm. I think I'll leave it off. It'll be a stylistic choice. Thought about having it maybe just kind of alongside here, which is something I tend to just do, and I don't want to fully draw out like a unique pose, but I think I'll leave it off now, for now. Lava King says, problem with Twitch is that the schedules don't match the time zones. I don't use the Twitch scheduling thing, so I can't really speak to that directly. That's why I have my schedule on the Discord and on Twitter. So if you ever need to figure out when I'm streaming versus someone else, then just check the announcements channel in the community Discord for us, and it'll be there. Especially if I have to change something like I did this week. We were supposed to do this yesterday, but work shenanigans aside, we didn't. So now we are doing it today. Love King says, "Oh, don't worry, I can find when you're streaming easily." Oh yeah, I'm just saying, stuff's out there if you need it. Lava King says, "Banani, I want to watch stream, but I always miss her." Ah, I see. She hasn't streamed in a while, but it's, I guess, somewhat comforting to know that I'm second place while you're waiting for her to go live. All right, let's start adding color to this thing. Same color palette. In fact, I might switch to my mouse for this. I could do it faster. We're gonna go quick color filling all the way down. Oh, let's see. Actually, I'm gonna scroll out for this. That way I can do it even faster. So we want this rust base color. And then we'll do the greens. I'm gonna do this all in order. I need to be careful. This original one won't be a reference in the actual video, but I would like the color paletting to be as on model as possible. Lava King says, "Hey, you are not in the second place. You're the reliable Thursday post-judo sushi platter that's always there where I left you." Thursday is my most reliable streaming day. I don't think I've had to move a Thursday stream in a bit. It's usually earlier in the week, but like I was telling Iconic earlier, that is solely driven by work. Or if I just feel dead, but I haven't had to do that in a while either. If I'm stuck late at work, that's usually why I have to move streams, which is really annoying. I don't like to do that. I know my schedules are up there and sometimes people plan around them. But sometimes I don't have control over what happens at the Earth job. But that's why we're doing this today instead of yesterday, in case you're wondering. Love King says, "It's a metaphor. Your stream schedule is reliable because you're always keeping us up to date." Yeah, I try and post stuff either in the Discord or on Twitter. I do it in both whenever I have to make a change. And I'm not saying that just to get people to follow me, because I don't care about followers. But the last thing I want to do, and I don't think this has happened yet, it could happen at some point, but I have not accidentally missed a stream yet, knock on wood. Every time I've had to make a change, it's because something's come up and I've had to just post an update. I know it's happened to some people that I know in the streaming world where they just forget like which day they're streaming, and then it just goes by and everyone's wondering, "Hey, why isn't so-and-so live?" I've been really careful to try not to do that. But I imagine someone, maybe one of you folks, would like ping me in Discord if I missed something or forgot I was streaming on a certain day, but that's usually why I check my schedule the day of what I think is a scheduled stream and make sure 'Cause that would be embarrassing. Lava King says, Raku, they're making Armored Core model kits. I have not really kept up on that too closely, but that's not surprising considering they were advertising the pre-production models for Armored Core when I was there, Lava King. When Matt and I were looking in the stores in... I can't remember which city it was. Osaka, maybe? Might have been Osaka or Tokyo, but we were in one of the anime model kit figure stores, and they had a display. Oh, I see. Hydrate from Iconic. They had a display thing there for an upcoming Armored Core 6 figure. I think it was a model kit. I don't think it was a fully built figure. It could have been either, really, but it was like a big one, and it was rad. It was really awesome. I don't even remember which model it was. Now that I've played the game, I could probably tell you if I saw it. But they were basically having it open for pre-order. Like the actual sign said, like, manufacturing in progress or something like that. So you could have reserved one of the kits. Which is pretty sweet. But I don't remember if that's when I decided that I was officially collecting figures. But I got to keep my eye out. It's good that you mentioned that. This is not like secret or anything, but I'm actually going to be in Japan again soon. So when I go, I'm going to have to take a look. Assuming I've got space in my luggage to carry stuff. But for Armored Core, I'd probably make space. That is going to be at the beginning of next year. I'm going back. Not going with any friends this time. But I'll probably talk about that more when it gets closer. I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks, so I'll need to tell you folks when that happens. Oh. We want this inner brown color. This is the inner parts of the joints. I'm on the wrong layer. That's right layer. Lava King asks, hey Raku, what would you call your own mecha mercenary company? 1, the Hive, or 2, the Honeycomb? Good question. I don't know about Honeycomb. It doesn't sound intimidating enough. I think for me personally, especially being on brand, if I was going to have like a mecha mercenary team, it'd probably be like, you know, the Swarm or something like that. Something a bit more ominous. Honeycomb sounds like what a place that I would call like a ship. You know, like a command ship or something, or like a central computer or a base. Lava King says, my third option would be like Hex Tech or Swarm Force. Swarm Force, I think, sounds pretty cool. That's probably what I think the best option you'd come up with. Love King says, I know they're going to make a line for 6 and they already made a white glint kit. I've seen people on the subreddit for Armored Core showing off some of those older kits. I think kits are cool. I just don't know if I have the time to build them anymore. I used to do Gundam kits way back in the day, probably before any of you were born. I have a whole bunch of them in storage. I don't have access to at the moment, but I had a whole bunch of like Wing, G Gundam, a whole bunch of other, some shows I hadn't even seen. I had a bunch of models, like the 1/100th big ones. I had a whole bunch of those that I built. back in the day. If I ever get up into that storage unit again, I'll probably take them out and try and put them somewhere. They're just sitting in boxes. But like those really, really detailed looking ones, like the perfect grade, I think they're called. I knew a couple people who were in like the even higher end ones than that, and they did some really cool stuff. Oh, I did see Lava King says you should check out Xenogears. I've played Xenogears. It's been a while, and I haven't beaten it, but I played about 2/3 of the game on Vita, I want to say. This is when it was re-released for the PSP store and the Vita store, so that's where I played it. It's a really good game. It's one of the classics. All right, we're going in to do shading now. Lava King says that's why SD exists. They're quick and easy. Yeah, I don't think they have that for Armored Core, do they? They have the like little SD mini ones. If I was gonna get something from that series, it'd probably be just a full scale, already constructed figure. To be perfectly honest. Okay, let's think about lighting here. Since I've been working on the Infinite Fusion sprites, I have learned quite a bit about being kind of cognizant of lighting angles, more so than I have in the past. So we're gonna say, oh, I'm on a mask layer. We're gonna say the lighting is coming from the upper left and shining down on this thing. Lava King says, I try to avoid perfect and master grade. I got a few in too many parts, too many opportunities to break apart. I stick with high grade. From what I gather, talking to some people who are like really hardcore into like the Gundam figure building and whatnot, like the Gunpla, they said that if you're not going to be doing like the complete, like drawing all of the detail lines and texturing and doing all like the really crazy levels of detail on a kit, then you're probably not really served getting the master grade, because that's what they're for. They're for like the really high levels of detail and putting in all that stuff. And it's like, I just want to build them. And they said, yeah, you're probably not going to get as much out of that, because that's like what the pros use, and they do all of that. Still impressive though. Lava King says, to my knowledge, Armored Core is doing 30-minute missions for kits, so those should be fine because those are simple to build. I'll have to keep an eye out on what they got. I'll think about it. But yeah, you can show off what you got. Put it in media share. Another problem, I have not solved my display problem from the first Japan trip. The stuff that I got is still sitting in a box, including the Tsumugi Bako figures, which, and I'm going to try and track down the next series, assuming they've started posting the next series when I go. I have to go and sift through the creators' tweets and see if they've actually launched the next set of collectibles and the gachas, because the Tsumugi Bako series is rad. It's a bit of a pain to try and find them all, but if I know there's a new series, then I'm just gonna drop like, you know, $30 at one gacha machine and try and get them all at once. Hey, save reminder from Iconic. Thank you. This part's gonna go a lot faster. I can shade and talk relatively quickly. I just have to think about the proper angles. Lava King says, I just wish there was a dinosaur mecha anime. Yeah, I can't think of anything modern. Probably the closest thing of a little bit older brand that I could think of would be Zoids, which I forget the Japanese name for those. But the mecha designs in those, I remember having a couple of those kits back in the day. They were very like dinosaur inspired, and a lot of them, not all of them, but I remember I had one that was like a T-Rex, like a Dinobot looking one. Oh, it's called Zoids in Japan as well. They were motorized too. At least the ones I remember them selling outside of Japan. You could like wind them up. They would like walk around. Oh yeah, I saw. I didn't see that you mentioned the Zoids too. Further up, Lava King came from the British name for the toys, and the name stuck in Japan, and the U.S. kept it. I see. Was it a show? Did they have a show? I never saw the show. If there's a show, I just remember the actual product. They still sell those. In fact, I remember seeing stuff from the Zoids properties, whether it's a show or what have you. I saw those in some of the stores in Japan. I recognized the design. They were really cool looking and expensive. Okay, there were a few Zoid shows. That makes sense, because if you're going to have a product line, you're going to need some sort of way to sell it. Okay, moving on to the green bits now. Oh, two of the Zoid shows were dubbed, huh? I don't think I ever saw them. I would have recognized the designs from the toys. Lava King says, I actually have a Zoid kit completed in my collection. Is that the one you're talking about that you got as a kid, or is it a different one? Okay, now we're moving on to the purple bits. Now the brown sections. Fortunately, there's not a whole lot of these. These are basically like the inner joints in between the different body parts on the mech. Lava King says, "Oh gods, no! The one as a kid was from 2003 or 2 and motorized with a ripcord. A Zoid in my collection is just a black Raptor. Oh, I see. Sounds like you have a pretty extensive collection, Lava King, of like figures and or kit stuff. That's pretty cool. If you put it in the Discord already, I'll check after the stream, and I'll take a look." All right, let's save this. Lava King says, "When you move across the country twice, you lose things." Yeah, I can see that. Things end up in like storage limbo, lost to time. All right, let's zoom out and take a look. Can't free. That's not what I want. Let's move the entire folder. Can't freely manipulate this thing, like scale it without messing with the pixels. But when I render this thing out into whatever I'm going to use for the upcoming video, what I'm thinking about doing, and you folks can tell me if you think this sounds like an interesting idea. Each track is going to have a piece that goes with it, like this, of the 10 tracks. And I think we definitely have enough time to do another one. So I'll take a look at my archives and pull another one that we can do in real time with everybody here. But I was thinking about making them animated in kind of a subtle fashion, because I can't do complete frame animation. I don't know how to do that effectively in sprite form. I'd have to do it in a sprite as opposed to this one. But like for this one here that we're looking at, I was thinking maybe just animate a couple frames into a GIF with this thing. I'm doing it on the actual screen right now, but just to have it floating up and down. That I can do easily. Basically, I'm just rendering each frame as it moves up and then back down, and then putting that into a completed animated GIF. I wanted to do like an attacking pose one, something like firing projectiles. Maybe we can do that next. But we'll see. We'll see. So let me go take a look at my folder. I'm going to pull another one. I'm going to pull one that hopefully looks a little bit different than this. And then we will give it the same treatment as far as taking like a neutral pose and trying to make some sort of more action-oriented render we can use for an asset. Oh, this one's interesting. Okay, let's do this one. Still within the same thematic style, but this one looks a little bit different. Also, just a note, since anyone with an art background would mention this, I think, when I first started doing these a long time ago as concept art, I forgot about pings and transparent backgrounds, so that's why they're rendered on a white background. I've been doing that more recently, so that when I copy stuff over, I don't have to delete the background every time. But these older ones don't have that, so as a result, you're seeing me paste them in with a background I gotta delete in order for them to be used as a reference. But what are you gonna do? So this one, I'll get back here. This one is like a big serpentine mecha type design. It's kind of spiky, and its lower body are these plated segments. So this would be like kind of a flexible snake-like tail, which I think we could do something cool with that. Maybe have like a pouncing animation of this thing jumping laterally. We'll just have to be a little bit careful on the texturing. Iconic says, great job with everything so far. Oh, thanks, Iconic. And this is a little bit different from what we've done in the past couple Sprite streams, but I do need this stuff relatively soon for the project, which is why I'm doing it on stream. All right, let's try and get a base pose down here. Again, this one's facing to the right. I remember to delete that later. And I need to make sure I don't make the body too kind of truncated here. Now what we're doing is sort of actually, I got a better idea. This will probably make it a little easier. I'm gonna draw the entire lower body with the snake-like part, and then I'm gonna put the texturing in after. That'll make it easier than trying to do it piece by piece. And I might have to make it longer. I think the body's a little too short, but we'll fix that in a sec. Let's get the arm finished first. Okay, let me hide you real quick. Let's have this one going up a bit more. This might be too wide, actually. I don't want these things to take too much space. They are going to be scaled down with like static pings if they're not animated. But I don't want them to take up a lot of space either. Let's do it like that. That'll work a little better. Lava King says, I posted my collection only to find out that my finished Master Grade is missing a notable headpiece. This is why I hate Master Grade, too many pieces. Oh, I'm sure it'll turn up. But yeah, that's got to be annoying. Okay, we can hide this for now. And then the textured bits that are different color on the tail, you do like that. This one's actually a little bit more simple compared to the last one, just because it doesn't have lower legs. It's all tail. So that'll make it a little easier. A little bit faster to clean up the line art on this one. Lava King says, 12 mobile suits, 1 King of Brave, 1 Zoid, 1 Digimon, 1 Macross Jet. Oh, you have a Macross figure. That's cool. I've always thought the mecha designs in Macross were neat. I never watched any of the complete series. I remember seeing footage of parts of them back when it was brought over to the West as Robotech, but I've never seen the whole thing. I always just thought the mechs were cool. Oh, this one has spikes on its arms too. Lava King says the creator has very good mecha design style. He made a mecha for a show on Netflix, but instead of jets, it's a car, motorbike, aircraft thingy. Sweet. That sounds cool. Oh, I see. To clarify, those are 3 separate mecha, not 1 triple changer. I see. Yeah, I'll take a look at the shot of the stuff that you posted after the stream. I'm interested to see what that looks like. So thank you for sharing your collection with everybody. Okay, so now we're going in. Actually, I'll save this. Now we're going in for the cleanup of the line art part, which takes the most time as I clean up pixels. The conch says, "Be right back. Gonna eat dinner." All right, enjoy your dinner. I'll be here. I guess while I'm working on this, I could talk a little bit about something I'm thinking about doing for the end of the year. I think we did this last year. I have to go check the archives and see. I don't remember. But I think last year we did a kind of annual wrap-up stream close to the end of the calendar year. And I'd like to do that again, just to sort of talk a bit about things we did, projects we finished, stuff like that for the year of 2023. So I need to start getting some stuff together for that. It would be kind of like a chill stream where we chat about just stuff that's happened since beginning of the year, and kind of a chance to go over projects and other things that I feel are noteworthy. Just as a way to kind of reflect on the year before it is over. And I'm thinking, in order to make that, you know, not just about stuff that I've done and make it a bit more interesting, would be to do like a Q&A as part of that stream. So we maybe spend like the first half doing a wrap up of everything real quick, and then the remainder is me answering questions that all of you folks ask me. And maybe we do like a hot sauce thing like we did with the spicy challenge. It was over a year ago now, where Hot One style, I answer questions from Twitter, and now we have the Discord while eating spicy things. So that's something I'm toying with doing. I kind of got to figure out my availability. I'm not going to be taking any time off at the end of the year, so I'd have to figure that out. But I may be opening up a Q&A channel in the Discord that people can put their questions that they want answered there, and then I answer those on stream while suffering from immense burning pain. Another thing that potentially is on the horizon, we'll have to see. I don't pay attention to my numbers super closely because I honestly think it's a waste of time. But I just happened to see that I'm getting really close to 200 followers here on Twitch, which is bananas. That's crazy. And I'd like to do something special for that, to celebrate when I eventually hit that mark at some point. And I'm thinking of doing a karaoke stream. It's been a while. It's been over a year since I did one of those. And so as it gets closer, I need to think about that and see, because some of you might not have even been here when we did the last one. It was, again, over a year ago. I think it was 100 subscribers, or not subscribers, 100 followers on Twitch is what we did. But it was a karaoke stream here on Twitch where I sang a bunch of 80s songs, and it was a lot of fun. It's a bit of work to kind of set all the audio up for, but it was fun. There's no archive for it because I don't want to get claimed up the wazoo on YouTube. I think there's at least one clip in my clip history here on Twitch from that. But I think if I was going to do another one, I could do 80s stuff all day, but rather than do the same thing for 200, I'm thinking of doing Japanese rock songs. And which ones, I'd have to go and prepare a set list like I did last time and practice said set list. But I think I could probably pull a mix of songs that people would recognize from things like recent or older anime, and maybe some stuff that people have not heard from some artists I like. So it'd probably be a mix. If I were to do that, I'd like to dedicate a section of that particular stream to one of my favorite bands whose lead singer just suddenly died over in Japan. I don't think I've talked about that, but it's a band that's been around in the Japanese rock scene since the 80s. Very famous band, very influential, especially in the visual scene. But the lead singer died from a brain injury after a concert suddenly, like out of the blue. And that was a really rough one. This is a band I've listened to for over 20 years. And they're probably not going to be making any more music now. They're called Buck Tick. And they've done a lot over their careers. They've done openings for and endings for like anime shows. Just tons of really interesting, really kind of eclectic and varied in tone types of music, which is why I liked them a lot. So I think if I was going to do a karaoke stream of Japanese rock songs, I'd want to do like just a small section of like maybe 4 songs from that band. It's kind of like a send-off to the lead singer, Sakurai Atsushi. He was 57, I believe, so not very old. Almost my age, actually, now that I think about it. And very sudden. Just as a brainstem injury, I think it was. Just after a show, he kind of fell ill and was gone very quickly. And people are still kind of reeling from that. And that was a month ago, I think. Very unfortunate. But for those people who are interested in Japanese music, if you want to check out a really interesting selection catalog of one of the most influential bands of the last several decades, I would highly recommend checking out Buck Tick. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. Their general style is kind of like an alternative, a little bit hard rock. It's hard to describe because they did a lot of different styles. Like kind of gothic, electronic, alternative, a lot. Some stuff a little more popish, but not really that pop. But yeah, one of my favorites. Eventually, when I figure out a good format to do media share streams, or media recommendation streams rather, that's definitely going to be a band I talk about. So then, rather than just me telling all of you folks, hey, this band's really cool, check them out, I can actually point you towards specific things that they've done. And that's one thing I'd hope to do this year, but the format's tricky just due to copyright, so I'm still working on that. I would like to be able to do a presentation style show here on stream where I talk about stuff that I want to share with everybody. But it's going to need to be static media as opposed to me, showing clips. We did a clip-based media share stream, I think last year. And it was fun, but I think the majority of the archives end up getting flagged. I think the stream archive is on my YouTube channel. I gotta remember, it was a while ago, but I think a bunch of stuff got claimed. So it's very likely if we did an active shared stream where I watch stuff or show off things, I couldn't put archives up, which sucks for people who miss the streams. But if I do a static media presentation with like I know it's kind of old, for lack of better terms, but doing like a PowerPoint presentation to show off media and then have like links to stuff, I think is effective. It's just not interactive. So we'll see. I did that for the Japan trip where I had a slideshow of things I talked about. The fighting game one I'm working on is a similar format, but that's something that's most likely going to have to get pushed into next year once I figure out the best way to show the format. But that does remind me, if we do a yearly wrap-up stream, I'm going to need to talk about things that I'm planning on doing for next year now that we're pretty much, we're in the middle of December pretty much. The year is almost up, which is crazy to me. But I'm sure 2024 is going to be a chaotic year for the world in general, I think, especially in this country. But there's also a lot to look forward to. And there's some projects that I'm actively working on I can't really talk about right now, but you'll be hearing about them soon. Okay, working our way down to the lower body. Finish off the line clamp on the hands, and then it's just going to be the serpentine sections near the bottom. To make sure we don't miss any stray pixels. I'll have to do one more sweep once we get to the end anyway. I'm going to zoom in a bit. That way I can make sure we're being consistent. This particular style of pixel sprite design, just for anyone curious, this is what I'm used to kind of doing for a sprite style. I don't know if it's got an official name, but like the completely black outline sprites is the one I'm used to drawing in. And this is very different from the Pokemon style, which we do for the Infinite Fusion sprites, which is not completely black. That style, as we've seen when I've drawn the sprites on stream, has black sections as far as like the underlying parts to kind of show off a shadow, but the full sprite is not bounded by a black outline all the way around like mine are. And so I've had to learn that in drawing for the Infinite Fusion content. I'm trying to think of what to call it, but for the stuff being added to the game, I have to learn that style, because in order to get approved, you have to follow the style guidelines and be consistent with what everybody else is doing. And like I was telling Iconic earlier, the one that I'm currently working on with the Discord is the one we drew last time on stream that was suggested by Lava King, I think it was, which was the Kecleon Gengar, which turns out does have a custom sprite, but I like the idea, so that's why I decided to roll with it and create an alt. But hopefully within the week, I posted it a couple days ago and gotten quite a bit of feedback on how to fix it and make it better. Hopefully within the week that one will be done and in the game. Probably not by the next time I stream it. Maybe, because we'll be streaming Infinite Fusion again next week. But once that one's in the game, that one will be part of the bounty. I'd like to be kind of on pace to do one a week to get added, but that's pretty ambitious. And I have other things I gotta work on in addition to just the sprites for Infinite Fusion. But in November, gotta think. Yeah, I got one set approved in November, so at the end of this month, I think those will be added. It was the Pinsir Cacnea line. Those got approved and added. So they should show up in the update at the end of this month, because they're a month staggered. And if the Kecleon Gengar one gets approved before the end of December, then that one would be added in January. I gotta check the Fusion Dex site and see if they added my name to the credits. I know that takes a little while for all those things to update. But the sprites themselves should be in the game. Okay, we'll keep working our way down towards the end of the tail, just keeping in mind the general shape and curvature of the segments here. It's another thing that I've learned from working on the Pokemon sprites is how to kind of clean up curvature and make it not look quite as jagged and sharp. I'm still getting better at it, but that is something that I've gotten feedback on and I'm actively trying to improve when it comes to the design stuff for the Infinite Fusion sprites. And flowing it over to stuff that's not related to that project like this means I can also get better at, you know, conveying curvature and making that clean when it comes to stuff like this. Alright, we're almost to the end of the tail. Be a little bit careful as we get close to the very end on the tip here, just because I want it still to have the texture of segments but not be completely kind of choppy as far as the line art goes. I think that'll be fine. I think it'll look okay when we color it. Okay, let's go ahead and save our progress. And take stock of what we've done and also do kind of a sweep for any stray extra pixels. There's one. Okay. Kind of keeping in mind what I said about curvature and reducing the amount of corners. If I see spots where I can kind of clean it up and make the edges a bit more consistent, and I'll do that. But I think this will do for the base line work. Let's take this and we'll compare it against our reference. I think I scaled it slightly larger, but that's okay. The scale doesn't matter too much because when I stick these into the video as assets, I'm going to have to scale them to whatever size I need. It won't matter a whole ton. But I want them to be somewhat within the same scale so that the pixel width and size doesn't get all screwy when I resize them. Yeah, okay, let's go ahead and move on to color filling. Now it's going to get a bit faster. We'll keep moving. Might have time to start a third one. Maybe what I can do is go into the archives and pick out one to work on next, and then maybe come up with like a real quick like base pose. I'll think about it. I need to eat dinner soon. But before we do that, let's get this one colored shaded, and that might take us all the way to the end anyway. Alright, so from here we're going to start with all of the green sections. This one's color scheme is pretty straightforward, thankfully. It's a mix of greens, this lighter tealish shade. I'll put you over here. The darker inner joint sections are dark blue, and the spikes are purple. Similar purple to the last one. I need to pick one that doesn't have quite such a similar color scheme, I think. Alright, that's the main palette of greens. Now the teal secondary color. To do the kind of magenta-ish color on the spikes. Now the intersections. I don't know what the technical term for that is, but I kind of consider it like a joint color or inner part section between the other body parts. And then now the eyes, which are a different shade. Yeah, this is a different shade of magenta. It's close though. And that color assignment's done. So from here, we can grab our shade colors, and now what I consider the more interesting part compared to the line work. Oh, I see some extra pixels on the head, which is where we're going to start anyway. Let's fill that in. Then we're going to figure out where our light source is coming from on this particular render. Light source is not going to be the same for all these. Rather than do that and kind of get everything following the same lighting scheme, I'm going to just kind of do it on the fly. So for this one, I think it would make sense to have the lighting coming from this direction. From behind is going to be tougher to do. I'm not that good at shadowing yet. Actually, I'll put this as a reference. That way I don't forget. So based on that, we want to shadow accordingly. We'll do the eyes here so we can move on. Oop. Now we're going to do all the sections. I'm going to do it color by color instead of section by section. That way I don't have to keep switching palettes, or shades rather. So now we're going to do all of the green sections. Okay, lighting coming from the upper right. So I'm going to talk a little bit, because this one's kind of more of an irregular angle compared to the last one. I'm going to kind of talk about what I've learned with shadow and color theory. I'm not an expert at it, again. I'm still learning. As a person who's really sucked royally at dynamic lighting and shading. In addition to the direction that the light's coming from, again, that's what the crude arrow here is meant to show, you also have to take into account depth. Like 3D depth when it comes to the shadowing, and that's something I'm still trying to get better at. So in addition to which direction the light's coming at your target and illuminating it, if you think of the target as a 3D object, which is what these are, there are going to be parts that are sticking out over others and casting shadows as the light is coming down from this direction. So this thing's got kind of a larger, almost triangular shaped head. If you're looking at it head on, it'd be almost like a pyramid with a rounded top instead of a point. And so this dark blue section is the body, the under joint area of the body that the head sort of sits on top of. And I imagine it would be able to move around to some degree, kind of like a flexible substance. But being that the head is kind of protruding out over the blue section and the body, this part right here, I can't draw on this layer, the sharp, almost beak-looking part of the head and the width that's coming towards the camera, which you can't see in 2 dimensions, is going to be casting a bit of a shadow over the body, which is why I've shaded in here on the top just a bit. And so things like that are what we have to consider when it comes to assigning the shadows, in addition to which direction they need to be to match the light. We need to think of what is going to be casting shadows over what when it comes to the rest, and that's tough. That's something I'm still trying to get better at. Okay, let's keep working our way down here. That might be a little bit too aggressive. Again, assuming light coming from the upper right, it's mostly going to be the edge that's facing away. Like, you can see my cursor here towards the edge of the spikes is going to catch more of the shadows. Well, let's keep doing more of the green sections. So down here, this part will be catching a shadow from the part directly above it. And we're going to follow the same sort of idea with following the shading on these tail sections. Same idea. But because these overlap, we're going to need to show that in the shading as well. And I may have to sort of adjust the placement of the different shades and see. But for now, I'm trying to eyeball it and get as close to the right angle as possible, and then we can clean it up. And we could be a bit more deliberate and quick in these parts because the shading is going to follow the underside pretty consistently, so that's going to save us a bit of time there. Also keeping in mind, roughly, again, trying to think in 3 dimensions, the arm here is slightly casting a bit of a shadow over the body, which is where this part right here is coming from. Then it kind of drops off once the arm is no longer layering wise over the tail sections. Okay, let's highlight the teal sections now. Again, we're going to follow the same rules of matching which way the light's coming. A little bit difficult for these sections that are part of the body since they protrude a little bit from the side. You can't tell because it's 2 dimensions, but I think we have to account for that in the shading. I see Iconic's back. Welcome back, Iconic. Hope you had a good dinner. I was racking my brain internally trying to think of what I want to eat for dinner. Might be leftovers. It's kind of thinking about getting street tacos, but I don't think I'm going to have time. The place I like to go to closes at like 7 Pacific. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see. I do have leftover Indian food that I picked up last week. I could eat that. What you missed, Iconic, you didn't really miss much, but we've been working on the shading, the shadowing for our snake mech here. And I'm getting ready to move on to the magenta spikes and then the inner body. And then that'll be it. So I think we're on time. I was telling the stream that once we finish this one, maybe I will figure out the next one to do next, and then we'll chalk that up for next time or in a future stream. I did see it. I didn't hear the alert. Maybe it was too quiet in my headphones, but Heroic Zephyr with the follow. Thank you for the follow. I hope you enjoy your stay amongst the space bees. I should probably turn my headphones up a little bit. Heroic Zephyr says, I like your monster design. Well, thank you. That is very kind of you. So to give you kind of an explanation of what we're doing here, since you jumped on, this sprite here that I'm working on is a mecha design for an upcoming project I'm working on. And ooh, I see a missing section in the original sprite. This part on the shoulder should have been colored in. Oh well. But we are doing... Okay, let me zoom out real quick. We're taking the base concept, which is right here on the left. We have our kind of a serpent mech type design. And we are drawing an alternate pose, like a more dynamic movement pose, which is what you see on the right here. So I'm actively shading this one And this one you see on the right is going to be used as an asset for an upcoming video. And so we're going through the line art phase to lay down the black line art, then the colors, and now we're doing shading. And that's what we've been working on for the majority of the stream. We completed one already, so I could show you what we did first. The first one we did was a different model. Oops, where's the reference? Here's the reference. So we did same exercise with a different mech. That's fine. It doesn't need to be too clean. But we took this one on the left that I'm moving around, and we created a more dynamic movement pose with this one you see here, kind of like a floating pose. So that's the first asset we made. And the snake one is the second. I need 10 of them. If we knock out 2 in the stream, I'd consider that decently productive. And maybe I'll work on some more of them off stream. I've got essentially the rest of the month before this project goes live to finish these. So anyway, that's what we've been working on. As far as general content goes here on the stream, we kind of do a mix of things here. Every once in a while we do one of these drawing streams where I'll either be doing digital regular drawing in Clip Studio or sprite based drawing stuff here, which I'm using Photoshop. We also play a variety of games, usually games that I'm interested in sharing with the chat. And occasionally we do chatting, chill streams. But the last type, which is kind of the unique type for me, not to brag or anything, but we do music. Every other week or so, we will get on stream and talk about beatboxing and use certain beatboxing techniques and my loop station to make music. And that's what you're hearing in the background. In fact, I make royalty-free BGM tracks for content creators and streamers to use. And sometimes we create those on stream with the input from chat. And so usually when I'm doing stuff like this and I need music, I'll be running through my BGM playlist just because I know I can't copyright claim myself. And occasionally on stream you'll be able to hear us creating those in real time. And sometimes people name them too. A couple folks in the community have named some of the tracks you're hearing. Alright, so we got a hydrate from Iconic. Alright, finished my smoothie from my lunch. I'm switching to water. Okay, put same purple highlight shading on the tail. And then we should be just about done for this one. I will delete the shading arrow. Give me one sec. We put that on lines? Yeah, we put that on lines. Okay, let me try and get these side by side. We'll compare the results. I'll put it up here. It's fine. Doesn't need to be fully in frame. so we've adapted. Portions on the head are a little different, but again, you're not going to see the reference. You're not going to see this one at all in the video. It's just going to be the one that I drew here today. But this one was easier just because I didn't have to draw legs. But we took the pose, this kind of standing coiled pose, and we made it more of like a lunging forward pose for the actual render here. Shading was a bit of a challenge because we changed the kind of the angle of shading. For this one, the reference, just based on the way I did it, looking at it, the light is coming from kind of the front. It's shining on the front, and I probably could have done that a little bit better at the time. This is an older design. It's been around for a bit. But as I've gotten slightly better with shading, I think I would have probably wanted to pay more attention to what direction the shadows fall, but that's fine. Now for... let's see, hide this and we'll center this one on the screen. Lava King says, looks like Guyver snakes. Oh, I could definitely see that. As a person who really likes the kind of bio-organic design from the Guyver creatures, that's definitely informed some of the design stuff you see here. As opposed to kind of the more blocky robot type mech designs you would see in something like, you know, Gundam. I know that's a really easy example to make, but the stuff that I've designed is a bit more kind of sleek in some cases. Some are more bulky, but instead of like the blocky squarish shapes, more like sleek lines. Also inspired by Eva, some other, and maybe Escaflowne to some extent. The mechs in Escaflowne are these kind of organic looking almost suits of armor. But you'll see that, and I'm going to grab one more to use as a reference, and then we'll kind of figure out the plan for it. We're not going to go through a whole nother one of these. That'll take me another hour, I think, to do. Iconic says, yeah, Guyver for the win. Yeah, Guyver's cool. Very, very neat and unique designs. Okay. Hold on, let me close out these. So I need to go grab one more from the archives. And I want to do one, again, that's kind of a different type of design than this one. Ooh, I have an interesting one. It's kind of a similar color, though, which makes me not want to do that one right away. Let's pick one with a different base palette. Lava King says, I wouldn't call Escaflowne a bio-organic tech when it's more akin to suits of armor. But also my favorite fantasy aesthetic, capes with big shoulder pads. Yeah, it's kind of a mix. They're piloted like mechs, but they're like big suits of armor. Very kind of unusual concept, but they look cool. Heroic Zephyr says, I heard Guyver and it wasn't MacGyver for once. I think you're much more likely to hear reference to the Guyver series in this community than MacGyver, because I don't think any of the people who hang out here are as old as I am. I remember that show. And Heroic Zephyr says, the second movie was one of the first major acting appearances of David Hayter. Yeah, that's true. Is it Dark Hero, Dark something? Mark Hamill was in that, I believe. He was in the first or the second one. Bad things happened to poor Mark Hamill. Hey, Snake's here. I gotta be careful, Snake. Your name is the same color as Lava King's, but welcome. Welcome to the stream. We are developing some... We're developing some Mecha Sprite concept art for a future project. I'm just currently looking for another one to tee up for next time. I think I know which one I want. I just don't remember where I put it. Oh, Lava King says, I think you were talking about David Hayter was in the sequel, Much Superior Dark Hero. Mark Hamill was in the original. He was like a detective or something, right? Alright, give me a sec, folks, and figure out where I put in my archives this one I want to use, and then we will take a look. I have another one that would be cool. It's just similar color, so I'm not going to use that one right away. Instead, we'll use a slightly different, still a mecha type model, but a slightly different design philosophy, as it were. I just need to remember where I put it. Ah, there you are. Okay, let me drop this one in and we'll talk a little bit about it. And for Snake, since you jumped on, I'll real quickly show the ones we finished. So we've done two mecha designs for feature assets. This was the first one. Again, Heroic Zephyr saw this a second ago, but I'm showing these off for Snake. And the second one was the snake-like mech. So now we need to do a third one. Where to go? Oh, whoops. That's why. There you are. All right, let's cut it out of the background. Arrange my order folders here. Ah, let's see what happened. I stuck it in one of the other folders. That's not what we want. There. You get in there, you go here. There you go. Okay. Sorry, I had to rearrange my folders real quick. So this one, and I gotta think about how I want to render out this one. So maybe we can brainstorm a good rough pose, and then we'll get it lined, like a rough line art going, and then I'll clean it up and whatnot next time, or we'll move that into a future stream. But we could start getting everything here. So this particular one, kind of keeping in line with the bioorganic design. Again, very kind of Guyver-ish, since we're talking about Guyver. But this one has these flexible tentacle appendages for arms instead of regular, claws or hands, which I think would be an interesting thing to kind of experiment around with when it comes to a pose. Snake says, style kind of robot reminds me of like Ava. Yeah, that's one of the angels that has like these ribbons for arms. That was probably in the back of my mind when I did this one. Obviously the kind of bright color scheme is different, but similar kind of energy, right? Where's my pen? Okay. So if we move this one, we'll keep you off to the side, out of general frame, so I got room to work here. Lava King asks, is that a man of war? You're talking about like a Portuguese man of war? Could have been inspired. I'd say this one's probably inspired more like by a squid or a mollusk as opposed to a jellyfish or a Portuguese man of war. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Portuguese man of war, I'm not trying to get all marine biologists on you. They're not jellyfish. They're a similar type of animal. I know because I was recently in an area where those things live, and I've been stung by them before, and it's not fun. But yeah, they're similar to jellyfish. They're like these bubble colony creatures that float in the water with these long stinging tentacles that come off. They catch fish. The reason why they're not jellyfish is because they live on top of the water. Like they have a sail, looks like a bubble, like a blue bubble. And they drift around and they snare fish with their tentacles, and they hurt like a mofo if they sting you. But here, I'll just kind of show you what I'm talking about. Portuguese man o' war looks kind of like this. They have these fins. This is the body. And, you know, if the water's up here. And they have tentacles that come down like this. And they just sort of drift on the wind currents. And then when fish, this is a really scientific diagram, swim around, they get snared in the tentacles, they get stung, and they get eaten. And then that's all she wrote for the fish. Lava King says, same dude, I was stung by a jelly when I was 12. My knee was burning for hours. Jellyfish stings are no joke either. And I know the sort of urban myth legend is that you're supposed to pee on it, but I honestly don't know if that helps. But yeah, definitely avoid if you're in an area. And Portuguese man o' war can be small too. They're not always big. Like they could be maybe a couple inches across. And usually how people get stung in places like Hawaii, which I know they're pretty common. I think Australia, other parts of the world on beaches too. But Hawaii specifically is where I know them from. They wash up on the beach and they just sit there on the beach and they dry up and die. But they look like little blue bubbles, and they're pretty innocuous, but if you touch them, they will sting you even if they're tiny. You know, like a 1 inch across thing with little tiny, barely visible tentacles, looks like a little bubble on the beach. You step on those and you will regret it. And if you're in the water and they wash up on you and wrap around you with the bigger ones, you will feel like you're being lit on fire. Not fun. That is your marine biology lesson from weird old Uncle Raku. Lava King says, I would not recommend peeing on a wound. I was stung at Virginia Beach. The East Coast, then. Yeah, not fun. I'm sure Lava King could tell us all. It's from experience. Another thing they've got in Hawaii proper are box jellyfish, which live underwater. I've never seen one or been stung by one, but that can actually kill you. Unless you're allergic to a Portuguese man o' war, it's just going to hurt a lot. But box jellyfish is strong enough to kill you if you're not careful. But I think they're more deeper water because they're not going to be close to the shore usually. But yeah, between that and the sharks, it's got to be careful. Iconic says, the more you know. Rainbow. We like learning things. All right. Okay, I think I got an idea for a pose for this one. I had to think for a second what makes the most sense, but we're going to go for a left-facing pose again, but we're going to do kind of more of an action focus. We'll see if I can do this and pull it off, and then we'll get the pose established, and then that'll be a wrap for today's stream, I think. Lava King says, also fly bites can suck, especially if fly spit gets in. Well, yeah, that's how you get diseases. And Snake says, I need to be really careful. Snake, you're and Lava King's names are the same color. And so, forgive me if I get you mixed up, but Snake says, for some reason, this robot gives off Kamen Rider. Was it 000? Shouta combo vibes? Might be the tentacles. Yeah, it's probably tentacles. Okay, let's move you over a bit. I think I need to rein in the body a little bit. This thing does not have a large kind of upper body part. Here's what I'm kind of thinking here. You folks can tell me if you think this is something we can pull off. But I'm thinking we have like an actual attacking animation with this thing's arms. So it's 3 and 3, right? It's got 6 total. So we have the tentacle sort of wrapping around the body like this. With the kind of idea that they'd be striking something, again, over here to the left. Oh, Lava King says I can change my color if it helps. It looks like Snake did. Snake is now this lighter color. You didn't have to do that, Snake, but now it'll be easier and won't get you mixed up, so it's all good. This thing is going to be a lot larger than I expected. Oh well. Here's how I want to kind of show this. I will leave it like that for now. Nikon says from naked snake to liquid snake. And Snake says it's okay, I don't mind being a lighter color of green. Lime. Lime or mint. You can take your pick of your flavor. Oh, I got an idea. Let's hide the reference for a sec. Again, this one's going to be a little bit larger, but that's okay because these are all going to be scaled down for the video, and it's not really going to matter that much. But what we can do is we can have the other limbs coming out from the other side of the body that's away from the camera. Again, line art cleanups for this one's going to be a bit more of a chore, but I think it'll look cool. And we have the arms sort of coming out this way. I will do 3-3 like this. That way they're up and out. Snake says, have you heard of Big Chungus? More importantly, have you heard the song for Big Chungus? Okay, you also remember that this thing has these sort of bladed tips on each of the tentacles. Okay, let's move on to the legs. One thing I've kind of done on a lot is sort of a stylistic choice. Again, I haven't shared a lot of these mecha designs with you folks before, but a lot of them, not all, but at least the ones we've seen so far, they tend to have these kind of simple toeless, I call them toeless leg segments. That's a design choice. Not all of them are like that, but a lot of them are. I think that was inspired by Zone of the Enders. Zone of the Enders, they like to do this kind of thing where, like, if this is the leg, and maybe it's like reverse jointed, but they have these like sharp, kind of pointed blade-like feet, and then they're flying above the ground like that. I think that's where that comes from. But I will definitely pick some designs for this particular project that don't look like that. We just haven't seen any yet as of today. Okay, let's angle this in a little bit more. Make it look like this thing has got like a kind of squared up stance. The patterning is a little bit unusual on the legs. It's asymmetrical. There's like a purple bit here, and then a blue bit that goes kind of up. So I'll need to make sure I show that without it getting too obscured and too hard to read. I'll have to mess around with that a little bit. Steak says, I'm so glad that Armored Core and Hi-Fi Rush won Game Awards. Yeah, man, we were talking about that earlier on the stream as far as the Game Awards go. I was talking about how huge it was for Armored Core to win Action Game of the Year. That's insane. But it's so good for the franchise that has been historically very niche. And so I was pretty happy to see that. We were talking about how it was also cool to see Baldur's Gate win so many awards. It's not a game I've played yet, but I know it's done really well and people really like it. Okay, what I'm doing is just defining some details here on the limbs. And then once we have this kind of roughed in, I'm not going to go in and do the cleanup, but this will be the basis of the line art that I'll need to just start working on. Probably I'm going to finish this one off stream, and then next time, depending on when we do another drawing stream, if you folks find this interesting, this mecha concept kind of design exercise, then I can do more of these, because I got to do 10 of them. We've done 2 so far. This is the 3rd. And I need to do more of them before January. So if you guys find this interesting, then I'd be happy to do this again, since it's pretty productive for me to do these on stream, and I get to talk about it. Snake says, also Alan Wake 2 deserved the awards. Yeah, that's one won a lot too. Again, I've never played Alan Wake, but I know the series is really popular. We were watching it on Ramen stream after the broadcast. I watched the broadcast with Ramen and some other folks like Kat from his community, and they were dunking on Alan Wake because I guess they just don't play the games, but I know people have really enjoyed the sequel because it's been like a decade since the first one came out. So that's cool. add a bit of texturing. I can tweak this later too. I'll go and hide the reference. Yeah, as far as the Game Awards go, we're also talking about the Monster Hunter Wilds announcement. Several people tagged me after that happened. So I knew about it before we saw it on stream because a couple people told me about it. But that is also... that was the biggest thing for me in the entire show, which I'm sure surprises no one. We play a lot of Monster Hunter here on the channel. But I'm definitely interested to see more stuff regarding the development for Wilds and what Capcom is cooking on that one. This one's like 25% bigger than the last couple we did. That's pretty funny. We take a look at... no, maybe not. It just looks bigger. No. It just has more detail, I think. I thought this one was at a much larger scale, but not really. Especially once we clean up the line art. But what I'll do as I work on this one is do reference checks against the original and make sure that we haven't missed anything detail-wise. But line art cleanup's going to be a while. If I did this one start to finish, we'd be here for another probably hour plus. But I do need to go eat dinner, so we will wrap up. Let me see who's online that we can raid. Okay, gotta go pull up my main list here. Let's see. Oh, let's see. Gutter Snipe is live. Oh, hey, Mycelia's online. She's playing Lethal Company. Let's go raid Mycelia. You guys might be seeing that name in the future. Not gonna say why, but keep your eyes peeled. In fact, I think I'm gonna post this when I get off stream here. Or I'm gonna forget. But big announcement for upcoming project coming. You'll see. So let me ping everybody on the Discord. And then it'll be up on Twitter and everywhere else. So you guys can look forward to that. But in the meantime, let me pause the BGM. And we will go to outro. And let me cue this up. And so that we'll call that for today. Thanks to everybody who came and hung out and watched me mess around with mecha designs. We will be back tomorrow, failing any schedule shenanigans, which I think we should be okay. We will be returning to Monster Hunter tomorrow to talk about what we're doing, talk about stuff for the new game that's coming up that we learned, and doing some more grinding. So that'll be something to look forward to. Well, in the meantime, hope everyone has a good evening. And I will catch you folks later. Now let's go see what Mycelia is doing.